There is reasons why this path is not as popular, but I believe it might be better, and this is why.
And this is, as promised, the alternative starting route. So we come out of North Queensferry with the iconic 3 bridges. So today's journey should take us to another iconic place where we've been before, the Dunfermline Abbey. And roughly about 9.5 miles walk today. And if it continues like this, what another glorious walk it will be. As you can see, the coastal path and the Fife Pilgrim Way, very much one route at this stage. Sort of mirandas onto and off of as we've gone along this Fife Pilgrim Way. I actually think this, certainly so far, is the better starting point. You very much get to see so much of the coast. The curious starting point, the traditional starting point, through the pretty village of Curious, absolutely spectacular, cannot deny that. Then you go through a couple of busy roads, and we're going to hit towns today, there's no question about it. But for a pretty spectacular start, seeing a lot more of the coast, a lot more woodlands, bird sound before we even get going. Just sets you off in the right tone. Just have to stop at this point and just show you the clouds are coming in a bit now, so the day's not going to be as beautiful as I thought. However, talking about reasons why it might be a better start, you can walk along, bring a picnic with you or something to eat, or even just stop and have a drink. Nice little seats laid out. There's a couple of little spots like this along the way. As you can see, as you look out, glorious. As you can see in the background there, makes a little bit of a racket. Obviously not as beautiful as it was before, and that could be a cross in one of their boxes, but so far 2 ticks, 1 cross. Not bad. We can cope with this. A little bit of noise, people are hard at work, we like to see. On we go, pilgrim. As you can see, as expected, we've hit onto a road which is obviously going to go into more busier places, but very much expected. And that was a lovely beautiful start up until this point. So since we put 1 cross in the box, let's go for another couple of potentially negatives, but maybe explain a little bit why this is less popular. So first reason being, it's not actually the official starting route, hence it's going to be less popular for that reason. There's less history associated with this route. Not to say that it doesn't have history, but the Pilgrim's Path from Curious up to St Andrews is absolutely littered in history. Probably less marketed, reason number 3. 4, it maybe gives a different vibe. I think, personally, certainly to start, a more positive vibe. But each to their own, I guess, on that. And point number 5, it's not actually on the main maps. What brings me on to a little something, again, about Hiker app. Now, what I did, this might be a bit of technology overload for you. When I was looking at the route, or how we do it, I did that modern thing of going on to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT, can you find me a map? And behold, it went onto the internet and it found me the guys who do the Fife Pilgrim Way. Link I will put in the description for that. From there was a downloadable map I opened the said downloadable app, and lo and behold, it connected me with a map directly onto my Hiker app. So for you guys who watched the last video, and I said the importance of apps and GPS, and I said how good Hiker app was. So another reason, although a cheat of a reason, because up until the last video, as we saw, the signposts along this whole entire route have been absolutely fantastic. But yeah, another reason to do this route. Now we're keeping it honest, and we're going to go for another negative again here, and this one being, if you're not doing the Fife Pilgrim's Way in one go, then potentially getting back to North Queensferry, certainly where I've parked, could be a bit of an issue. There's a train from Dunfermline, obviously, to North Queensferry, a little bit of walk down to the start point, down to probably where you park your car. The bus, as far as I can tell, is only once a day. Bit of an issue. Taxi, well, that might be an option too. Another tick in the negative or cons box. At times it can be a little bit hilly. Well, actually turns out to be very quite hilly. When you hit a summit, it's a cone. But when you hit the top of your peak, we're back onto the positives. Beautiful countryside again, with telltale signs that civilian life is here. But glorious. Smile back in the face. I was never left the face, actually, to be honest. It's not been too dramatic. Even the busier bits have been okay, and it's an opportunity if you was running low on supplies, a few shops along the way, get yourself in there, nice little sauny, or piece as you call it in Scotland. What do you call that in Scottish? Fucking superb. And talking of superb, it's actually, this whole Fife Pilgrim's Way has been nothing but superb, outstanding, beautiful, challenging in parts, but mostly superb Scottish adventure. Neither really a pro or a con on this one, more a similarity. As you can see, we're coming up into built up areas. And a pigeon, which is very similar to the walk from Curus. And the reason for that is they very much keep the path the way it used to be. The exact route you're walking is the same walk the pilgrims back in the medieval days would have walked. And again, a little bit of irony, I've had to come slightly off the path because, as you can see, they're building something right in the way of the Fife Pilgrim's Way. That's, yeah, so maybe for a slight period of time the route does change. Met one of the workers there, and you got to go right up and out. So if we're going on a negative, yeah, okay, I know things need to be built, but they've literally blocked off a walkway, or maybe they haven't. What is found? I don't know if that's new, because that certainly doesn't match up to that. In fact, it's miles off of where the app is. Yeah, I suppose at least they've re-signposted it, but yeah, that was a little bit awkward. I nearly had an argument with a bloke, and to be honest, I've had my head down looking at the Fife Pilgrim's Way, probably not reading their signs to say it's closed. There said pedestrian footpaths and everything else, so I was following those through, and then yeah, met a dead end. But right enough, I mean, so if they're building something, and now out onto a busy road, which was always going to be the case, but I think we would come in a little bit further up. And this here is obviously our original route, and that's a bit of a shame. You would have seen a bit more countryside before you hit the busy road, but it is what it is, so what can you do, you know? I was thinking there, just sort of coming along the busy road, now into a nice quiet road, so I was just train of thought is a little bit clearer. But anyway, as I was walking along, I was thinking I might be moaning about very little, because obviously I'm not saying for a second that you should be allowed to walk through a middle of a building site. The guy was 100% correct. What I am wondering, however, is when the building is complete, is the access still going to be there? Is it going to be slightly diverted, or are you going to be sent the same route onto the main busy road? Now, guys watching in England, Wales, possibly other places in the world, might not fully understand what I'm going on about, but certainly in Scotland we have a right to roam. Okay, so surely they need to put a route on close to it so it's very similar to the path, keep you away from the busy road, because we have a right to be able to walk it. It's a historic route. It is still very much part of a pilgrim's route, so there's a religious aspect of that. So I mean, say, how many rights is that impeding? You know, I mean, like I say, I might be moaning about absolutely nothing a few months down the line, maybe a year down the line when it's complete. It's nothing, it's been resolved. But like I say, diverting you onto a busy road, not ideal in the slightest. But anyway, yeah, I suppose there's more important things, isn't there? And pro, we need a pro back into glorious countryside, and the weather's just about still on our side. So this is going to sound like a con, but it's actually a pro. Where we're coming on to next is a busy road. Again, vast irony, you watch any of my videos, I hate busy roads. However, this is a very special busy road, because this road, with a few winds and a few bends, takes us to our final destination of Dunfermline Abbey. Loads of pros and cons along the way, but what was your favourite? What would be your route, your chosen route? Would you go from Curus, the traditional way, to St Andrews, or maybe start on the alternative, beautiful route of North Queensferry? So here we go, that's us completed, literally, virtually every step you possibly can on the Fife Pilgrim Way, from Kelwas to St Andrews, from North Queensferry to Dunfermline. And I'm going to take you on a tour of this amazing abbey, and we've completed the guy who followed in St Andrew, I guess, and our journey on the Fife Pilgrim's Way from the man who forged a nation, or certainly a flag. And next time we'll find out about a man who led a country and one of Scotland's great kings.